Hey guys, welcome to Monkey Road Roll Podcast number 279, and I actually think it is number 279. So all the ones I said before this, let's just not worry about that. But guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning into us every week. I really, really appreciate it. And tonight's podcast is brought to you by Stealth Tackle. Stealth Tackle is clearly the leader. You can find it at stealthtackle.net. Net, guys, just like your fishing net. Stealthtackle.net. And if they're makers of all the leader material that you want to have, whether it be fluoro, 7-strand, 49-strand, solid wire, anything from short little spring leaders to big trolling leaders, they've got it all. They also sell all the components, whether it be the swivels, the snaps, the pretty much anything you're going to need, the crimps. Check them out at stealthtackle.net. Also, guys, we want to hear from you. On our Lunge and Lures text line, you can always shoot us a text. It's at 606-776-6729. Let us know how it's going. The Wisconsin Southern Opener is in full swing. Guys, send me some pictures. Send me some stuff. Let me know what's happening up there. And muskie season now all across the country is starting to, guys are getting excited. And, so send me one. It's the Lunge and Lures text line. Again, Lunge and Lures, makers of the 22 short, 22 long, the big old 50 cal, 22 SS, the Chubby, the Alley Cat series of baits, and all the spinners, whether it be the Nutbuster spinner bait, the original Lunge and Tail, DC9, DC10. Check them out at lungeandlures.com. Once again, the text line number is 606-776-6729. Guys, on the phone today, we have a great guest, first-time guest on the podcast, and probably the best name I've heard in a long time, Sterling King. Sterling, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you, man?
I am good. You got to tell me about your name, because that is one of the best names I've heard. Sterling King. Where did that come from? I mean, is that like an old, like a family name or what?
Honestly, I get that a lot. And to be honest with you, I never really questioned my parents on that name. So to be honest, I really don't have a background on the whole name.
It's a great fucking name.
I should probably dig into that, though, because I do get a lot of questions on it.
Well, it's just awesome. I mean, it sounds like Sterling King. I mean, it sounds like you could be like a lead in like a Harlequin romance novel, or or you would be like not like me. I mean, my name Gregg. Right, in high school, I was going to say in high school, wasn't in high, well, maybe a little bit in high school. You didn't get made fun of with that name. Me, Greg begs for eggs. That is, that was when I was a kid. I had to hear that all the time. You can't do that with Sterling King. I mean, that is an awesome name. That's a Hollywood name.
I appreciate it. There's not too many guys that have it, so it's kind of hard to mix it up.
No, it's awesome. It's also a name that you're not going to find a keychain of at Cracker Barrel. Either.
That is very true.
Yeah, that's one there. But no, I was hoping there was like some big, great, grandiose story that you would have about where it came from or something. But
unfortunately, we can't make waves about the name because, like I said, I never questioned the parents on that one, but I do get that question a lot, so I may have to dig into that.
I would dig into that. I mean, was mom and dad were they a little, I mean...
It's probably around Sterling Sharp days, to be honest, for the Packers.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I bet you that's... I know in Kentucky every year the best... whoever the best player is on the basketball team, there's a lot of those kids born that year get that name. So this year there's a lot of Reeds.
Oh, that's funny.
There's a lot of kids named Reed that were born this year. So what is where are you at now? I will say Jim Salbers from Sportsman's Repair gave me your name. And
okay.
So where are you at in Wisconsin? And what locations do you fish?
So I'm actually from where Jim is up in Mosney. I'm actually about, I would say, 25 minutes south of Jim. I'm in Stevens Point, Plover area.
Nice.
I grew up in Plover here, so I've been fishing the Wisconsin River ever since I was a kid. I'm a river rat at heart. Been fishing Green Bay as well for, I would say, about 7 years or so. And then I've been guiding for about 6 here on the river. And then a few years back, I actually went out and got my captain's license, went through the whole shebang.
Isn't that a giant pain in the ass?
Now.
Isn't getting your captain's license?
It's a lot. Honestly, it's a good deal, though, because it keeps some of those, the people that don't want to go by the books and kind of the people you don't want around, it keeps some of them out of there. So it's an all right deal, but it's definitely a process.
Oh, my God. I got mine. I'm going to be renewing mine for the third time next year. And I still remember it was me. There was 8 of us in Minnesota got together. We all knew each other. It was me, Brad Hoppy, Matt Seaford, Luke Ronestrand, Scott Vig, Ben Olson, owner of Thorn Brothers. It was before
you guys had a legendary class there. Jeez.
Oh my God! Well, we had a class of, let's just say, at lunch was at the bar because we were all just eyes crossed. Oh my God! And Ben, the asshole, he was like the prodigy. He was like knowing all of it, and I'm like, my head was absolutely spinning because let's face it, I hadn't been in a classroom in 15 years. And
to be honest with you, it's probably a good thing I didn't know anybody in my class because the amount of stuff they pile onto you for a couple weekends.
It sucks.
I don't know if I could have did it if I had anybody in the classroom.
Well, we did it. I mean, we did it for a solid week. We took 1 week. Everybody said, okay, this is the week we're going to do it. 5 days in a row. And it was like, it was awful. I mean, it just, because, and the teacher said it's the first time he'd ever taught a class where everybody knows each other. And so we were just, oh my God. But it was pretty cool. We had Captain Ted Gephardt. I'd heard Ted had retired. I really liked him. I mean, he didn't wear shoes, kind of an old hippie. He'd bring in smoked smelt. Is that right? Or smoked whitefish and like eat it at his desk. And,
that's great. That probably smelled good.
Oh, it was very enchanting. And then we would sit there and a lot of people don't realize that test, you can only miss like one question per test, if that.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's like,
they're definitely not easy. I mean, so mine was actually 2 separate weekends. It didn't go through the middle of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't study in the middle of the week, man, they're pretty tricky tests. I'm no math wizard. I was all worried about the chart plotting. And that was the one I actually didn't get anything wrong on.
Yeah, the chart plotting, that's the one everybody was talking to me about. They're like, oh, it's going to be terrible. You got to get a compass out, and you got to, a monocle and, throw, Windex on the ceiling and all that shit. But that one didn't bother me. It was like the rules of the road was like.
I totally agree.
Ridiculous. Because it was like they would, it was like the old ACT deal where they just take a word and just change one word and it changes the whole meaning of the question. And then did you have
it just messes with you so much.
Yeah.
You got 50 questions and you're only allowed 1 or 2 wrong. It really gets to your head when you're taking it.
Did you do the one where you had the squares in the box with the circles in it with the light figurations?
Mine was like, honestly, like one of them high school texts where you just fill in the bubble.
Yeah, no, that was the thing.
He gave you like the answer sheet, and just the answer sheet is where you filled in the bubbles.
Yeah,
but all the tests, like he recollected and obviously reused those.
Yeah, I mean the one was it was a test, and basically it was you had to fill it was a multiple choice, but like it would be a square, and in that square was like circles, and they would either have an R, Y, W, or G in it, and it stood for like red, green, white, or yellow. And they would put those circles in a configuration, and the answers would be like sailboat at rest, or boat towing port side. And you had to tell what those circles were by the configurations of the lights.
Oh, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, that one was like, holy shit.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of those, a lot of different configurations out there.
It was awful. And the sad thing is, a lot of those tests, I mean, it's not applicable to what we do.
Well, and the same thing with all the, you could compare that to like the horns, all the different horn tones and how long they hold the horn for.
The only thing I remember is 5 short blast is danger signal. And I also...
Or they just hold on to it.
Yeah. The other thing I learned is if a boat's coming at you and it's bigger, get the fuck out of the way.
Pretty much.
That's what I learned in there. But no, and then you have to do the drug testing, then you have to do physical, then you have to, and it has to be on like official, like an official transcript or form. It's just wait till you go to renew
you gotta
it.
Send in so many papers. There's like 20 to 30 papers you got to email over.
Oh yeah, just wait till you go to.
I downloaded an app to do it where I could just scan it all and send it as one deal.
Oh wow! See, now when we did this, there was no app. This was
made life a lot easier.
Yeah, this would have been 09 maybe when we did it. So there was no app. We did it when Minnesota at one point was going to require all guides in Minnesota to have captain's licenses.
Gotcha.
And it never came to fruition, but we all got them, and I kept mine up to date, and which turned out good. I mean, for Lake St. Clair, you have to have it, and actually on Lake of the Woods now, I have to have it too. So it's a good thing to have.
It's really not a bad thing to have guys that have it.
No, and
in all honesty, I wouldn't be upset if there was some kind of testing for like just normal lakes and rivers in the state, nothing to that extent, but other than just paying $20 for a regular guide license that anybody could do.
Yeah. See, in Kentucky, it's $250 for a resident and $400 for non-residents. Is what we charge.
A lot more than here.
Yeah, that's what they charge. But I think a lot of Minnesota has no guide license. But I think a lot of that in the resort areas of the state, they don't want to charge a bunch of money for somebody if it's like a kid or something, doing it in the summer, working for their family resort or something like that. I think that makes sense. I think that's what it comes down to. But yeah, no, I know the captain's license. I got PTSD from that thing.
Yeah, you got to get the TWIC card, the whole 9 yards.
Oh yeah, you got to renew the TWIC and all that stuff. I've got to start that. I'll probably start in December renewing again because mine comes due late July. So I'll start on that. But trust me, they don't make the renewal any easier.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
This is my third.
Honestly, I should just start mine like a year early just so it's, it goes through. Honestly, when I sent mine in, it took I want to say it was 6 months, like half a year before they even got back to me.
Sure.
After sending in everything.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a process.
Oh, it's a hell of a process. So I know I know it is. But anyway, Sterling, what is, the Southern Wisconsin opener opened last Saturday, so about a week.
Yep.
How has fishing been and what are you hearing?
Honestly, fishing has been great. Typically every year, for Southern Opener, everybody gets so fired up, and majority of the years, our fish here locally around the Point Plover area are, still really going through that spawn phase where, this year we've had, even across the whole state, we've had pretty mild weather this spring. I mean, we were walleye fishing in the beginning of March, and sometimes in March you were out on the boat, it was 75 degrees, you're in shorts and a t-shirt. Mm-hmm. But winter did show back up for a little bit, and then but like I was saying, the temperatures around here have been very, very good. So majority of these fish in our area are pretty much post-spawn. They're already setting up pretty good as far as close to almost a summer pattern for where I've been seeing my fish, how they've been reacting. There's been quite a few females that have been eating, which typically we don't see a lot of until like the end of May, start of June. So things have been really good here. Been getting a lot of action, been hearing of a lot of fish caught. So stuff's looking really well. Should be a really good year.
Now, is this in the rivers that you're fishing?
Yep. This is local to me here, right in the central part of the state, right on the Wisconsin River.
So do you have in the rivers there, I mean, are you running a jet boat or?
No, actually, I get some funny looks, but I run a 621 all over the place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been a Ranger guy my whole life here. I did have a surface drive, a 17-footer for about 6-7 years. I did do a pile of fishing out of that. I did sell it a few years back. Kind of regret it. I did like having that surface drive to buzz around to some of the stuff, especially the last couple of years. We've been pretty much a drought. We've had very minimal rain. Our river's been really low, and when the river has like no current in it, it gets pretty tough. You know,
when you're saying surface drive, is that a jet motor?
So it's basically a duck rig, like what all the duck guys run in the South. I duck onto the Mississippi River quite a bit. It's a gator tail. It was a 37 horse. So basically, they're fan cooled. They're not liquid cooled.
Oh, so like one of those devil things they call them.
Yep. Mud Buddy makes them. GTR, Mud Buddy, Pro Drive. Those are your most common.
They're super loud
mud rigs. Yeah, they can be.
Yeah, I know. I
had a louder exhaust on mine. I got rid of that after 2 days.
Yeah, no, they look like you're running the boat with a big weed eater.
Yeah,
back
pretty
there.
much.
I know exactly what you're talking about. So
I mean, they're awesome boats. You can beat the crap out of them.
Yes, that's what I need. That's what I need, as much shit as I break.
No, but I mean, running a 621 around here, it can be tough. If you don't know the river, there is stuff to hit, but if you know where they're going, they're really not too bad. I mean, they really don't sit too bad in the water column. I would say there's a few areas that I can't get to that I used to fish, but I mean, other than that, they're pretty good. So
sure. What? So this time of year, what have you been seeing as far as lures and stuff that you're getting fish to move on?
So anybody that knows me is going to say it, and I'll even say it, but I will die with a bucktail in my hand.
Oh my God.
Just for the sole fact that you can catch fish on a bucktail from opener all the way till close. They just work all times of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Really the only thing you got to change up with them on these fish around here in the river is size and then speed. Your retrieve speed and retrieve angle and size of the bucktail you're using. You could literally just buy bucktails and never buy another bait, and you'll catch fish all year here.
Okay.
But as far as other baits, I'm sure you heard Mike Conklin, the glitch pedigree, that's been making some waves around the area. I know that's been catching a lot of fish up north. Some dive and rise stuff. Also, I've heard of a couple rubber bites. I know the swimming dogs have been doing pretty good. I haven't heard much on topwater yet, but I know some rubber baits, some pull pause stuff, and some twitch baits as far as crankbaits. But in my boat, we got the one on a bucktail and we got one on a shallow invader. So kind of two opposite sides of the spectrum there.
Well, let's.
So right now, it seems like the fish that are eating, they're eating. So they don't seem there doesn't seem like a crazy pattern right now. It seems like the ones that want to go, they're going.
All right. Well, let's talk bucktails. You say you're a bucktail guy.
Yep.
Early like this, what style of bucktail do you like? And then, like as far as the retrieve goes, how are you working it versus like speed and just any kind of action?
as far as bucktails go, obviously in today's world, you could sit and spin your head around on what should I buy because there's gazillions of them now. To be honest with you, I don't get too crazy on them. I keep a lot of, Booker bucktails, like simple, like last week I've actually been throwing a single 500 on a heavy bass rod. Really, really, really small profile bait. A lot of people think I'm crazy when I throw stuff like that, but the fish in the river here, like they will eat all the way down to a single 3 I've caught them on. Mm-hmm. Through the summertime, I mean, majority of my bucktails are going to be single blades on the river here. And this time of year, it seems like, you slow down that retrieve quite a bit compared to, like, say, your summertime patterns where as soon as that thing is hitting the bank, you want it moving instantly. But you kind of let the fish tell you what to do. Some days they want it moving, and some days they want it a little bit slower. And it also depends, what you're fishing for structure. I mean, in the river here, we got endless structure. We have rocks, sandbars, mud, weeds, wood. There's so many different things these fish sit in versus, you go to a lake and you kind of got your milk run laid out where you know what you're throwing in every spot. But the river changes every day. But like I said, it seems like no matter what time of the year, you can go out there and catch them on blades. But this time of year, I'm sticking with like a single 7, single 8, a single 5, pretty small profile stuff. As far as speed goes, like I was saying, I've been seeing more action on a slow retrieve versus obviously keeping it a little bit higher. We also had some pretty high water this last week. I would say our average flow for this month is probably 4,000 to 5,000 CFS, and this last week we were running anywhere from 15,000 down to 12,000. So we've had some high water here. Some of these fish we've been seeing in backyards. So
sure, I mean you're looking for eddies or any type of current break.
Absolutely
to get the fish to go.
I'm a guy too that high water is much better than low water.
Okay.
I would take 6 foot high water versus low stagnant water any day of the week.
Okay. So when you're saying a slower retrieve for bucktails, I mean, I guess that can mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
Can you see the bait coming in, or you have it down out of sight?
Yes and no. Like I said, every single day it seems like these fish want something a little bit different. So I'm constantly mixing it up. But when I'm talking a slower retrieve, typically I want to run that bait almost to the point where depending on blade size too, how much water that bait is pushing. But like when I'm throwing that single 500, like I typically don't see that bait until I got it right next to the boat. Usually I try to keep it about a foot under the surface. Now, granted, majority of these fish in the river, we're catching them 4 to a foot of water. So A lot of these fish, we're not catching deep.
Mm-hmm. Now,
But one of the biggest things, a lot of people I see out on the river, they're fishing the right spots. But retrieve angle is probably one of the biggest overlooked keys I see that would drastically help people put more fish in the boat in the river.
Okay.
You kind of think if you're fishing a bank and you're floating with the current and you're just casting at the bank. And if you think about it, when you're floating down the bank, you're kind of casting in front of the boat, mm-hmm. Kind of working that way. Well, when you're doing that, you're kind of running that bait against the grain per se. You're kind of bringing it back up current versus the more natural look to these fish is obviously bringing bait downstream. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, you see people fishing these spots that there is fish there, but they don't always want to chase that bait up the current. It seems like you get a lot more fish around this area to react to baits that are actually more of a natural retrieve where that bait is moving with the current per se.
Okay. Well, we did that. I fished with the guys from Red October up on the St. Lawrence once, and that's how we fished jigging. Just put the boat parallel and cast it upstream and work the jigs back along the bottom with the current.
Absolutely.
And that's how we did that. So when you're doing that and so are your cast angles backwards, or do you like use the trolling motor?
Yeah. So some days when these fish are going and they're hungry, some days it doesn't matter so much on that retrieve angle. But you say you got a tough day and there's fish on that bank that, you say you've been fishing it a couple days, you caught a couple, and now all of a sudden you're going down the bank, you're still marking fish, but you can't get them to move.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times if you turn that boat around, get on the trolling motor, even if it takes an extra 10, 15 minutes, just make yourself a path. Majority of people got iPilot nowadays. So instead of sitting there fighting with your foot the whole time, make yourself a path and just use your trolling motor and go upstream and let that cast angle be a little bit more natural to that fish.
Okay. And so by doing that, and I'm assuming spot lock too probably helps?
Yeah, there's definitely, like I said, our rivers here is a lot of spot to spot. So I have so many spots per se. I don't like saying spot on the spot because, these fish will use the same areas a lot of times, but sometimes they'll be, 60 yards down from where they normally are or 80 yards down.
Mm-hmm.
But, you go out one day, depending on how long you're fishing, you could fish, a dozen spots within 45 minutes. A lot of areas, I'll put the boat down. We'll make about 20, 30 casts in a spot, and then we're gone.
Okay.
If I don't like what I'm seeing, we're going pretty quick.
Now, do you, with your bucktails and stuff, are you a believer in like tricking them out with, say, grubs or blades or anything like that out the back?
Not too much, no. I will say I have experimented with grubs off the back, and granted, in Green Bay is a completely different fishery. They love them over there. Here on the river, they do not seem to like them too much. Just your plain Jane bucktails. I have messed around with blade sizes, some thicker stuff, and weights of the bucktail. Some of them baits where they push a lot of water and they stay higher. Maybe you add extra half ounce of weight to them, something like that, where you want to like bulldoze them through some weeds and, get some reaction bites. I have messed around quite a bit with stuff like that. But as far as, adding blades on the back or adding grub tails, definitely don't see better action out of grub tails on the back of blades around here for me personally.
Yeah. Do you find that the river fish, I've heard people say this, and again, I fish some river, but it's not like it's something that I've done a ton of. I'm learning more about it. I keep sticking my toe in it.
Yeah.
What do you find that the fish in the river are affected as much by the weather as lake fish, or do you think with current it helps with that getting those fish to go?
I would honestly say our fish here are more affected by pressure versus weather.
Okay. Explain.
So, that's kind of a tough one. But I would say about, 10 years ago or so, you could go out on the river here and see, maybe one or two boats out muskie fishing versus nowadays, you could go out on the river and maybe run into, 6, 7 different boats that are fishing on a section.
Sure.
We do have a muskie league that runs through the summer here, Wilma. They've been running that for a while now. That used to run on Wednesdays. That now runs on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, which you can pick your day to fish. But there's definitely been a lot more pressure as of late versus in the years past. And I would say some of these fish, especially the older fish, the areas that you've been typically seeing them in the past, they're either completely moving out of those areas, and I'm actually finding them adjacent to those areas that I never used to really fish, or they'll be pushed down, 80, 100 yards where you never used to really catch them before, per se.
Yeah, so I mean, they're still there. It's just they're migrating some,
absolutely.
and it's more of a
And
migration.
I think I would have to agree with that too. A lot of our fish migrate quite a bit. The 2019, that was just an epic year for 40-inch class fish versus the last couple of years. It's been kind of seeming a little bit lower numbers that have been getting caught in the 40-inch range.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a lot of good stocking going on. We're seeing a pile of mid 30-inch class fish. So our system is going to be great for a long time. But a lot of those fish definitely move a lot. It's pretty incredible how many dams they'll go through, how far they'll travel. I had a tiger muskie. This was probably about 5 years ago. I caught it back when I fished Wilma. I caught it the first week. It was on a Wednesday, and then the next week I actually caught it 2 miles upstream, and I knew it was the same fish because it was the same exact length. And I rarely run into a tiger here on the river.
Wow. Well, that's is there in your system there? How many dams? I mean, how does it actually work?
There's a lot. Majority of our stretches are pretty short. Like our Stevens Point section, dam to dam, we're probably working with roughly 12 to 13 miles of river there.
Well, that's not bad.
No. But,
average depth is...
Our point section has a little bit more surface area per se versus like you get down to Plover by me. You don't have quite as many fingers and water to work with. There's still just as many fish. And I kind of like the Plover section a little more just because I grew up on it. But it's definitely more riverish versus, the point section. You got a pile of fingers, a pile of backwaters. The Plover section does have that. It's just not as much. So.
And what's the average depth of the river you're fishing?
Honestly, I would have to say it's probably about 5 foot.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a pretty treacherous, section to run around on. Like I said, if you don't know it, our average depths are not deep at all, unless you get like up by Dubé Dam. We got about 25 feet ish up there, maybe a little bit deeper. And then you get down towards the bottom end, you got a couple like 18-foot holes, but it's the same thing on every section. Now, if you go down to Plover, you go up to the top, you got 1.5 foot of water. Mm-hmm. And you go down to the bottom, you got 14, 15 feet. So majority of our river system is, I would say, 5 to 6 foot deep, depending on the year. If we have the last couple of years, we've had very, very minimal rain, so it's been a little bit lower than average. That makes the fishing pretty tough too when it's that low. Sure.
No, I totally get that. Why do you do the Green Bay thing? What brings you up there? The bigger fish?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once you tangle with a few of those, 55-inch class fish, 50-plus inch fish. I mean, and not even the 50-plussers, the mid-40s fish over there, they're just built. Mm-hmm. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's big water, big, those fish got a lot of stuff to eat. And I get it. I've traveled a lot for these crazy things, and
it's kind of one of them things too. It spoils you once you get those bigger ones, and not that we don't have 50 inchers in the river. They're just obviously a lot tougher to come by.
Sure. No, I get that. Now, do you change things up much when you go to Green Bay, or are you still a big bucktail guy?
Still a huge blade guy. There are some days where you'll get them on rubber, but majority of those fish, even for northern opener, majority of that still going to be blades. Mainly double blade.
Sure. What for you to switch to rubber? What are you looking? What are you? What kind of rubber baits do you like?
I'm a big Medusa guy. Medusa, Bulldogs, and Tubes are probably my go-to as far as rubber baits. Mm-hmm. I have messed around a little bit the last couple of years with Bondi baits. Caught a couple fish on Poseidon's. I'm actually excited about that shorter version they just came out with.
Mm-hmm.
I think that thing's going to be quite the killer.
Oh, it's a little smaller profile, and and you can always you can do so much with those. You can actually.
Well, I see Muskie Innovations as well just came out with the Pit Bull they're coming out with, which is a little bit bigger than the regular. That bait actually looks pretty dang good as well.
Which one is it now? What are they coming out with?
They're coming out with one that's called the Pit Bull. They're actually Team Rhino is just talking about it. It's like 25% bigger than their regular, and then I think it's like 25% smaller than the Pro Dog. So it's like a happy medium. And I honestly think that size is going to be a killer as far as Wisconsin fish for sure.
Okay, and it's actually their Bulldog?
Yep. They're calling it the Pit Bull.
Huh. Is it even online yet?
I don't think it's even online yet. I just literally heard waves going about it today, so I'm sure that's going to be a hot ticket. It's probably going to jump online and be sold out.
And that'll be the size between a regular dog and a mag dog?
That's what I believe. Yep.
Oh my god.
Which I honestly think is going to be a great size for our fish here.
Sure. No, I think it'll be a good one.
We've had some good days on regular dogs here in the river, but you get into that late summer, fall, I think that bait's really going to excel pretty good.
Sure. No, that's the thing. I mean, it's pretty amazing what what these fish are. There's so many different type rubbers out there now, and the ability to have the colors that we have now, and I mean, it's just let's face it. I mean, it's a lot of shit to buy.
It really is. I tell people all the time too. There's so much stuff and it's not just muskies, it's bass, walleyes, no matter what you fish. There's so many baits that are sold to the human eye nowadays versus the stuff that really works.
Sure. I mean, the last 2 days or last 3 days, the bait that we caught all our fish on, I made in the kitchen. I took aluminum foil, Reynolds wrap, and it was a little crankbait, and just wrapped it in aluminum foil, grabbed a piece of chartreuse tape, put down the back, took JB Weld, mixed it up in a cup, and poured it over top of it to get a nice little like a shell. I didn't have any fancy epoxy, so and it's got 4 fish for me the last 3 days.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I mean,
it's funny because I get people that give me crap too because I always carry Sharpies around in my boat.
Sure.
And last year on Green Bay, we actually had for about a week straight, we had a really, really good a chartreuse bite going, and I only actually had two baits that were really extremely hot, and one of them got destroyed. So I ran over to Smokies on the bay, and he had the bait, but both of the blades were chartreuse, and I wanted one of them to be black. And I actually threw that bait for 2 days, and it could not get bit. And the other one I had was still getting bit. And I took the Sharpie out and colored it, and it wasn't 25 minutes later, I colored one of those blades, and it got bit.
Nice.
And then that bait was just on fire the rest of the year. There's so many stupid little things that you can do to get those fish to eat.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
It comes down to, sometimes it comes down to just silhouette or presence or, all that stuff in the water. But you can make yourself crazy with it, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of the shit you just stumble onto, or you use, stuff from your past and everything, and it makes it work a little bit better. But let's talk right now. If someone was, going out, there's like 3 people that listen to this thing. One's my mother. She's not going to go up there. My mother's a suet gal anyway. She's, she'll flip.
Hey, those are tried and true.
She'll flip you off if you don't have a suet.
I know of a couple fish I got caught on suics for the opener here, so those are working around here.
Nice. What would you tell somebody if they're coming up there in your area, even if it's not on the river, maybe the lakes, anything like that? What could you give some advice for?
I mean, even if they were coming to the river here, a lot of our fish are setting up right now, it seems, in almost a summer pattern. So if you're jumping out on the river going to fish, look for those areas that are adjacent to, their spawning grounds per se. If you got warm water creeks where there's fish that are going up there and spawning, fish those mouths that are coming back out into the main river channel. We've been seeing a lot of fish that are, down further away from, say, the spillway versus what they normally are. So a lot of those fish that are coming back down already, they're setting up on those eddies, normal spots where if you're going out and you're a walleye guy, you're going to set up on an eddy. It's the same deal. The warm water pockets, and if you're good with your side imaging, there's a lot of spots where I'll run to. And majority of our river system here, you got sand and gravel. As far as bottom goes, some areas do have some heavy rock, but those sand and gravel areas you can really see on your side imaging. And a lot of those spots, I'll actually just set the boat down and I'll idle past them just to see if I can see a fish in there. And sometimes if I don't see a fish, I won't even bother stopping at it and fishing it.
Sure.
But majority of the spots we've been seeing fish at, there's been multiples. So if people are going out and they're running into one fish, odds are there's probably a decent amount of them around the same area.
Okay. Sure. Well, I mean, that's always cool to see. What, with the fish there, what would be maybe two things or a couple things you would tell people as far as, new to the area and new to river fishing to look for?
Basically your eddies. That's probably the biggest thing when it comes to river fishing around here, especially if you have higher current like we've had. If you fish the eddies, you're going to find fish. And like I said, if you know the spawning areas where those muskies are going up, whether it's creeks or spillways, anything of that nature where they're going up to do their spawning thing, these fish don't just instantly swim back out into the river and swim all the way back down where they came from. They'll stop and they'll sit in those eddies or sit in those bays that are adjacent to the spawning grounds for a little while. And they'll put the feed bag on. And like I said, usually if you run into one, you're going to run into more. So,
cool.
Yeah, as far as the presentation stuff, mix it up. Like I said, it doesn't seem like there's a strict diet right now. It seems like you're kind of hearing of they're catching them on this, that, and the other thing. So mainly stick with your gut. If you know there's fish there, don't necessarily just run away from it. Maybe change that retrieve angle or change up that bait because, like I said, it seems like they're kind of eating a little bit of everything right now.
Sure, I get it in the spring. Any color that's been hot?
Black, orange, black, green. It's the tried and true colors that always seem to produce. Like we said earlier, there's so many as far as bucktails, even hard baits go. There's millions of color options nowadays. Don't steer too far away from, especially in our river system, don't steer too far away from the stuff that, has been tried and true, the black oranges, black greens, even all black or black gold.
Sure.
So
that, I get it. Well, I tell you what, Sterling, thanks for coming on tonight. It was a pleasure. How could somebody get a hold of you if they want to go fishing?
You can reach out to me on Facebook. I have a Facebook page at King's Real Time Fishing. Otherwise, my number is 715-321-0419. I do have some availability for river trips all the way up until November. As far as my Green Bay stuff for the end of summer, I believe I have like a week to a week and a half left open for tons. So that one's getting pretty tight right now.
Cool. Well, good deal, Sterling. Glad you could be on here. And guys, make sure you check him out and give him a holler. If anybody's wanting to come up to a couple things to say about Lake of the Woods, if you're wanting to come up to Lake of the Woods, I did have a cancellation over Labor Day weekend, the Friday through Monday of Labor Day weekend. If anybody wants to come up to the Angle and share a boat, that would be pretty fun. You can give me a call. Just text or call the text line number. That'll get a hold of me. And then also, if you're coming up to, if you're thinking about coming to the Northwest Angle and you are having a hard time finding a place to stay, get a hold of me. I actually now I've got access to a rental place up there that is pretty cool. It's a cabin, sleeps about 6, with a dock right on the water on the mainland, and we can do something there. Maybe I can help you out with some lodging stuff. But if you're interested, shoot me a text or give me a call. Sterling, buddy, hey, it was a pleasure.